Capitalism is neither natural or healthy, and since it is not natural, it is not right-wing. It is not the same as a free market, and it is not the only system for a healthy economy. One of the ways that those in power keep the people trapped, ensnared, and this is rather typical of democracies, is to give people a binary choice. It's one of the most genius psyops of all time, really, because the people, and let's just be honest, most people are sheep. The people are such sheep that they think, well, if you don't stand for my thing, then you stand for the other thing. And in this context, of course, it means capitalism or communism. Well, if you're not a communist, then you have to be a capitalist. Oh, if you're not a capitalist, then you must be a communist. Yeah, most people can't think beyond binaries, and that's why it works so well as a control method. The illusion of choice, even though both options support the same thing. It's brilliant. It's genius. So, let's look into capitalism, shall we? I'm going to look up a few definitions of capitalism, and let's see if I can find an honest definition. Just because a dictionary says something doesn't mean it's telling the truth. So let's start with dictionary.com. Dictionary.com says, capitalism is defined as an economic system in which investment in and ownership of the means of production, distribution, and exchange of wealth is made and maintained, chiefly by private individuals or corporations, especially as contrasted to cooperatively or state-owned means of wealth. Okay, I don't think dictionary.com understands what capitalism is. That's unfortunate, because it pretty much just described what a free market is. It misses the essence of what capitalism is. It kind of seems like it was trying to dance around the core essence. I'm already detecting denial, which is interesting. Let's see what Merriam-Webster says. An economic system characterized by private or corporate ownership of capital goods by investments that are determined by private decision, and by prices, production, and the distribution of goods that are determined mainly by competition in a free market. I suppose that's closer, but still no cigar. And I can't help but notice that both dictionaries fail to provide a simplistic definition. They kind of just drag out the definition and hope that you accept it. Well, it's not my favorite source for information, but let's try Wikipedia. Is Wikipedia honest about what capitalism is? Wikipedia says, capitalism is an economic system based on the private ownership of the means of production and its use for the purpose of obtaining profit. Oh, there we go. There we go. Good job, Wikipedia. Good job. Profit. That's the point. That's the point of capitalism. Making a profit. Because capital really just means wealth. Money, really. Money in general, although that might be a little too broad of a definition. But the point is, you're trying to make capital, which essentially is profit. So, capitalism is a system in which, here's my definition, shooting from the hip here. Capitalism is a system in which people are trying to make profit from each other, profit off of each other. Basically, we are all trying to convince each other to give each other's money. And it's not just about goods. It's not even just about goods and services. It can be for anything. For anything. The goal is get other people to give you their money. How does that sound like a healthy system? Just at surface level there, how does that sound like a healthy system? People like Ben Shapiro, I've heard Ben Shapiro talk about this. Back when I still listened to him, of course, but I've heard him talk about why capitalism is such a good thing. It encourages competition. he would say shit like that. It encourages competition, and only the best services, only the best goods come out on top. And that makes no sense. If you know the first thing about capitalism, that would make no sense to you. So clearly Ben Shapiro either doesn't understand what capitalism is, or he doesn't want you to know. I think it's the latter. I think he knows full well. He just doesn't want you to know because it's more profitable. It's part of the game. It's more profitable to make you like capitalism when it's actually, by definition, it is inherently a scheming system. The name of the game is get other people to give you their money. It's not about what is best. It is about what's most convincing, most persuasive. So to believe that it only produces the best of the best, to actually believe that, you would have to believe that human beings are only attracted to the best of the best. Is there some competition involved? Sure. But why do you need capitalism to have competition? That makes no sense. You know what's a better incentive to be innovative than just mere competition? You know what's a better incentive? Necessity. It wasn't mere competition with the Soviet Union that gave us the Lockheed SR-71 Blackbird.
An advanced long-range strategic reconnaissance aircraft capable of Mach 3 and an altitude of 85,000 feet.
You sure do seem to know a lot about it.
Do you even read my Christmas list?
It was necessity. We needed it to spy on the Soviets. We needed it. And I would even argue the space race was also a necessity. It's not competition that drives innovation, it's necessity. Technology advances most rapidly during war. So it's not competition. That's nonsense. So I'm not saying there is no competition in capitalism. I never said that. I'm saying if you want the best results, you get that from necessity, not competition, and certainly not capitalism anyway. Capitalism is just about convincing other people to give you their money. You can have free markets without capitalism. I just think capitalism is a bastardization of free markets. Free markets address what is needed, while capitalism creates the need itself and then tries to answer that. You see the difference? It is, I need a bag of rice versus, here, let me convince you that you need a bag of rice. Actually, it's more like, let me convince you that you need something even better than rice. Something that I invented myself. You need this. That's capitalism. Whereas free markets are just, I need rice. Who has rice? Let me buy some rice from you. Free markets are for buyers. Capitalism is for salesmen. So let's look at what money even is. Money as we think of it, which is fiat currency, which basically the entire world uses now. What is money as we think of it? They're just notes. They're just credits. They represent something that's supposed to have value, but it itself has no value. I think we can all agree on that, can't we? If you're stranded on an island and you have $1 billion in cash, that $1 billion isn't going to transform into a boat or a plane to get you off the island, is it? It's completely worthless on its own. So what is it really? Why do we pretend it has value? Because it's debt. This is the part that I want you to pay the most attention to. Money is debt. Here's one way to think of it. If it has no intrinsic value, but your entire economy is based on it, it is the very fuel of your economy, but it itself has no value, then it's debt. And if you still don't believe me, pull out your wallet right now, pull out a dollar bill of any size. It is written right there on every dollar bill. See for yourself. Pull out a 1, a 5, a 20, or 100. It's right there. This note is legal tender for all debts, public and private. The secret truth was hiding in plain sight, right there in front of you the whole time, your entire life. It's worse than not being real. It's debt. And the way you run an entire economy on debt is you keep these notes moving around. It's keeping these things in motion that gives them the illusion of value. Additionally, inflation. Every so often, those who make the notes, the dollar bills in America's case, It is the world's reserve currency. Whoever makes them, they have to make more every once in a while. So here's what happens when the motion slows down too much, or when you stop printing these things. Here's what happens in either case. It loses value. When you're not printing more of them, it loses value because people might save too much of it. And if people are saving too much of it, then that slows down how much it's in motion. And if you slow down how much it's in motion, then the illusion is less maintained. The illusion starts to break. Wait a minute, these don't have any value. I need land, I need resources, not cash. This is what the entire economy, from the upper echelons to the lower, this is what the entire economy would come to realize if money slowed down. People don't need cash. They need what cash buys. But you can maintain that illusion that cash has value, that it's cash that people need, that it's cash that people want, as long as people keep exchanging it, and it never slows down. It's a kind of junky economy, really. In order to keep it healthy, you have to keep getting that high. In order to keep getting that high, the salesmen, or as we call them, businessmen, entrepreneurs, they have to keep not even necessarily producing better stuff. Like I said, it's not about producing the best products. It's about making you think you need what they are selling. The salesmen have to keep producing more and more addictive products and services, more and more things that they want you to think you need. So yes, I suppose in a way that makes technology advance a bit faster, I suppose. But again, don't get the impression that it's only the best. You are getting what sells. Here's an example, and I'll use entertainment. 3D movies. Did you know 3D is actually older than color? I won't get into the complex history of it, but 3D has actually been around since before color in film. Still to this day, people don't really want 3D. It doesn't really sell. Therefore, it hasn't been advancing. There are ways, I'm sure, to make movies more immersive, but it turns out that's not what people really care about. It's not that it can't be done, it's that people don't entirely care about it. It's a cool gimmick for a while. 3D keeps going in and out of fashion, in and out of style, but people don't really have an appetite for it, therefore it doesn't really advance. I mean, movies themselves are kind of going out of style, but that's a separate point. Overall, what I'm getting at here is, could there be better advancements in making movies more immersive? Absolutely. I'm sure of it. But it doesn't quite sell. Therefore, these advancements don't really happen. Capitalism is when your nation is a nation of junkies. It is materialism as a system. You don't buy a lot of things. You don't own a lot of things because you need a lot of things. You own a lot of things to get that high, to get that rush. Companies like Amazon that sell everything, they were always going to be successful because of course they will. Amazon is basically the capitalist corporation. They sell everything. It's about getting that rush. Oh, I just bought something, yay. You don't need nearly as much as you have. You have far more than you need because the system depends on it. And humans are gullible creatures. Survival is a constant, and because we didn't have very much for most of human existence before civilization, and even during civilization, we haven't had a lot. And so we are kind of wired to acquire as much as we can for that reason. That doesn't mean it's good. That doesn't mean it's healthy, especially when most of what we are acquiring is not shit we need. But even if you're red-pilled on capitalism, which at this point I most certainly am, and I hope the rest of you will be as well, even if you're red-pilled on capitalism, unfortunately, it is still the system we use. It is still our economy. Don't think of everything I've explained so far as, oh, this is just for rich people or people who want to be rich. No. This is the system we all have to use. So, in order to survive, you have to play the same game as the rich people. You have to try to stay on top just as much as they are. And naturally, inevitably, some people are going to be better at it than most other people. It is inevitable. Those at the top will always make significantly more than those below them. What is it? Like something like 10 people, just 10 people have more wealth than the bottom half of the entire world population. Because we all do capitalism now. We all do fiat currencies. It's a rat race. The perfect depiction of capitalism is that scene in World War Z, or I guess I haven't seen the movie, but I assume it happens multiple times in the movie. But when you see the zombies piling up on each other just to get over barriers, that's capitalism. A tiny few on top, a tiny few who manage to get to the top, they're the ones who will get over. Most people won't. In fact, most people won't even start climbing. They won't get any altitude. This is why welfare, we blame it on women voting, and sure, that's part of the problem. But welfare, actually, socialism itself is inevitable in capitalism. There's a twist I'm sure you weren't expecting. If you want capitalism, you're going to get socialism. Capitalism and socialism are actually best friends. When you think of socialism, when most people think of socialism, they think of socialism in a true believers sort of sense. Like, let's take socialism too literally, or let's take it seriously too quickly. Capitalism is a slow burn. It's a slow buildup to socialism. It's inevitable. You're going to get the same results as socialism. A vast wealth chasm. Those who have everything and those, a small few who have everything and the vast majority who have nothing. It's the same thing. It's going to happen. It's the same result as what you think socialism is. It's just a slower march towards that result. Because, like I've been trying to explain, capitalism is just people clamoring over each other to try to stay on top, to try to, stay above the surface, or as Bain would say, trying to stay in the sun. Whatever allegory you want to use. Capitalism is people clamoring over each other just to survive. You have to. The money is literally not real. It is debt. Look at the top companies of the S&P 500. Which of these companies primarily sells a product or does a service that people actually need to survive? None of them. Nobody needs NVIDIA. Nobody needs the Apple Corporation. Nobody needs Microsoft. Nobody needs Meta. Nobody needs Amazon. Nobody needs Berkshire Hathaway. These are salesmen. They didn't get ahead by selling you something people need. They got ahead by being really good salesmen. You being convinced that you need what they sell does not mean that you need it. It just means you got convinced. You got fooled. And you get fooled every day. That is the point. And eventually you will get socialist results. That is inevitable. I could talk about this for much, much longer. I could talk about the psychological effects of this system. Perpetual cognitive dissonance, just like with democracy. Capitalism and democracy really go hand in hand when you think about it. Do you think America is such a successful nation because it's democratic or capitalist? No. America is a successful nation because it's rich in resources and it's surrounded by oceans. We have thousands of miles separating us from our greatest threats, from our greatest enemies. And we are rich in resources. How can you lose in such a situation? But this system we have going on, it's only good for a couple of centuries. And then, holy shit, we're in for a mess. We are damaging the environment. We are damaging our own psyches because our entire system is a rat race. Yes, it produces some conveniences. Of course it does. Yes, it produces some cool toys, some great entertainment. Sure. I never said nothing good ever comes from it. Good things can technically come from any system. That doesn't mean it's a good system. But no system has ever had a better illusion of being good than capitalism. Like I said, I could talk about this for so much longer. I really could. But there is one point. There's only one more point that I will make. I will not skip over this point. Despite everything I've explained, capitalism still doesn't work without one very important ingredient: women. Funny how so many things keep coming back to women, isn't it? But this is a fact. 75% of capitalism is fueled by women. Women make up 75% of all purchases. It's not men who browse Amazon and think, oh, what should I buy today just to have it? That's feminine. Capitalism is feminine. Consume, consume, consume. Men evolved to acquire resources. Women evolved to expend resources. If you want to have as many people as possible buying your stuff, giving you their money as much as possible, you're going to have a far easier time persuading women. You know, for the useless repeal the 19th crowd, you think that's not going to happen because, oh, women would never vote to have their rights taken away. Well, that's true. They wouldn't. But also, your precious capitalism that you foolishly believe is right-wing depends on women being able to buy shit with men's money. Capitalism is feminist. It's feminine. It's both. If you want to fix all of the problems women are causing, one of the many things you'd have to do is get rid of capitalism. Repealing the 19th wouldn't do shit, especially when it could just come back. It's democracy after all. You know, we believe in term limits and shit like that. When the next batch of politicians come in for the next election, which is every 2 years in America, you repeal the 19th, it's just going to come back. It's not going to solve anything. The spirit of repealing the 19th, which is removing women from power, if you want to do that, truly do that, you have to get rid of democracy. You have to get rid of capitalism. Yeah, suddenly you're not so certain that you want these things, just like I thought. Most of you are not ready to give up capitalism. It's still one of your gods. I intentionally made women the final point of this video because I didn't want you to think that I'm only anti-capitalist because women fuel capitalism. That's certainly part of it, but it's not the main reason. It's a shit system overall. I think capitalism is one of the greatest proofs that most people who think they're right-wing aren't. And that includes 100% of women. Any woman who you think is based, who you think is trad, go up to her right now and say, capitalism needs to go, and see if she likes that very much. Her ability to just buy shit that she doesn't need, gone. The mere availability of shit she doesn't need, gone. You think a woman would be on board with that? No matter how many times she says, oh yeah, I agree, we should repeal the 19th. She won't give all of it up. Any woman you think is truly an exception, oh, this one is truly based, truly trad. Yeah, try getting rid of capitalism. She can no longer buy makeup products. She can no longer buy some magical lotion that makes her younger, which is bullshit, of course. It's all gone, and you think she'd be cool with that? Get real. If you want to fix the problem of women, don't look to women for that solution. And as for capitalism itself, we don't need to live like this. I am pro-free market. Like I said earlier, free markets are about providing what buyers need. A free market is a buyer's market. Capitalism is a seller's market. It's a salesman's market. We are ruled by salesmen. And I'm not even talking about democracy, although that still applies even here. Plain and simple, capitalism needs to go if you truly care about anything.